Hey, John, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jason. Happy to be here with you.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Tell us who you are, what you do.
Well, I am John Scheer. I am the co-founder and chief creative officer of a branding agency called Herman Scheer. We started about 15 years ago, and around, I would say 4 years ago now, we decided to go all in on healthcare, self-care, and well-being. So that's the area of focus that we work within, and we help businesses at any inflection point that they're in, but I would group them primarily in 0 to 1 startups. So bringing awesome founders' ideas and products and innovation to market, then working with high growth businesses around Series A and beyond to hit their next level of growth. And then we'll work with enterprise legacy businesses to help them regain relevancy all through the
Very
lens of
cool.
brand. So
Awesome. And
yeah.
how'd you get started? Accident or?
Just naive ambition. The Herman to my Scheer and I, his first name is Chapin. We went to school together. We had complementary skill sets. He was had a real entrepreneurial mindset, and we just taught each other a lot, and hit it off. And I grew up outside of Cleveland, Ohio. He grew up in Santa Monica. And when we graduated, he wrote me a impassioned Facebook message that was something along the lines of, look, man, you don't want to live in Cleveland. You don't want to work for the man. Come stay on my couch. Let's figure something out. And so I packed up, came out to Santa Monica, lived on his couch, and we figured it out.
Very cool. That's awesome. And how many years did it take in order to really get some momentum? Because when you first start, you know, like you said, you're living on a couch, you're starving artists almost.
Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of different, it's a roller coaster. So we had a lot of different peaks and valleys. And early on, we got our first $10,000 project and I thought we were made. Like it was,
It was it. Like I could retire.
Yeah, it was incredible. And then we did all the work and, didn't really know how to think about, sales versus revenue versus profit and all that. And we were just kind of floating through on cash. And I don't know, we were having fun and we were just learning and building up a portfolio and eventually hiring people that were better at us at the execution of things. And I would say that the first, 8 years were him and I figuring out what not to do, getting our MBAs through experience. And around, I would say 2017-ish, we kind of took a step back and realized we had gotten kind of good at a lot of things, not great at any one thing. And making money was one of the things that we weren't great at. So we hit the reset button and kind of scaled way back down to just 3 of us. And with the help of our senior advisor at the time, he did a 360 review between us. And the kind of big aha moment was that we had been running the agency like a 2-headed monster for years, where he and I were inadvertently stepping on each other's toes. Nothing confrontational, but he would run a project, I would run a project. I'd try to do a sale. He would try to do, so there's no division of roles. And so on the other side of that review, Chapin got voted in as the chief executive and I got voted in as the chief creative. And it was like we both got promoted at our own agency. And yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, tell me a little bit more about that. I mean, because when you start the agency, you're the operator, right? And an operator is doing everything. There's really no rhyme or reason behind it. You're doing sales, operations, creative, dev, account management, retention. Like the agency just dominates your life. It really owns you.
Yeah.
And then, as you guys started kind of saying, hey, here's my strengths, here's my weaknesses, like you take this, you take that. What was that shift kind of like? Because you go through this identity shift almost. Was it a positive or was it a negative at first?
It was a positive. I mean, lucky for us, it was super positive. Chapin has a very process-oriented mind. He is very goal-driven, and I'm, very inherently creative, and I love connecting with our clients on a more creative, spiritual wavelength, and he is really great at connecting with them on their what they're trying to set out to do and setting them up for success to work with us in that fashion. And so, the question was it good or not? It was great. Like I said, we both got promoted in our own agencies, and then our internal team knew who to go to for what. Our clients knew who to go to for what, and we both had, stayed out of each other's ways. When I was making creative decisions, he didn't say anything. And as he's set the ship for administrative and operational protocols, things like that, I trust him.
And you also mentioned kind of up until that point, you guys weren't really kind of going down the profit track, weren't really that good of money. So how did that shift? Because it's, there's probably other things that you did that made you more profitable or got the business into a better point rather than just going, hey, here, you own this and you own this. What else was going on?
We didn't have our lack of experience. We didn't have the financial acumen at the time to really understand what was happening from a true business mechanics perspective. Like I mentioned before, we were just kind of like looking at our bank account week to week and just crossing our fingers that we could make payroll and take some for ourselves. And so I think ultimately on the other side of that review, one of the other things that we decided to do was go all in on brand building and position ourselves as an agency of what are we actually doing here so that we can differentiate ourselves and become experts in something instead of just saying yes to any opportunistic thing that came across our desk.
When you started, I think you said you have around 22 full-time people.
Mm-hmm.
What was the hardest thing when you started bringing on full-time people?
The hardest thing, I think for Chapin and I, the hardest thing was knowing that a person wasn't right for the job and keeping them on way too long.
Yeah, when I look back and I tell everybody in the mastermind, I'm like, look, man, if you look back at all your best employees and worst employees you've had, you know that within under a month.
Right.
But we hold on to them for like, hey, we put a month of effort into this person, so we already are invested. Let's put another month. And then we're like, we got 2 months.
Right.
Then it's 6 months, and then it's a year. And then, it just tells everybody else, yeah, we're fine with shit work, or we're fine with someone being cancerous in the business. And it just sends you on the wrong ship. How long did it take you to figure that part out?
We always knew, but it was never the right time, or we needed said person to, we would rationalize things. And Chapin and I, I think the gift and the curse of being agency people is you are people. You like establishing relationships, and a lot of times we're close friends, or we wanted to maintain a relationship with the people that we brought on. And so it just made it difficult. So it really wasn't until we brought on our third partner 2.5 years ago, or almost less than 2 years ago, less than 2.5 years ago, that we really, like, she comes in now, and she is so. Fast forward to the origin story to today, you mentioned we got 20 or so people. We also brought on a third partner, and her name is Allison Servey. She's amazing. She came from a shared advisor of ours, and she's got 20 years of operational experience, insights work, big agency experience. And when after 2017 to 2023 or so, we hit another plateau of growth, and Chap and I looked at each other and said, we want more out of this. I don't think we've got it in us to get past this plateau that we've hit. And so our advisor introduced us to Allison. She came in, we were super honest about all the people, where the business was at, and she came in and just helped us manage people out and bring in amazing people from her network. And so that's a really long wind. I don't even remember the question anymore, Jason.
I don't either. What around the third partner?
Yeah.
Right. Because it's always like, I started in the agency business by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go through like with everybody going, man, there's a lot I don't know. Cause I started when I was 22.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I got to find some older dude that has a little bit more experience. And it was good for a couple years, right? Because we complemented each other.
Right.
But what I found out was sometimes people grow faster than others as the business evolves and we don't grow, right? Like, I wrote a book called Operator to Owner, and it goes through kind of like 5 identity shifts. Like the first one's kind of operator, and then you go to a manager, and then an architect, CEO, and then owner. And people, their identities shift faster or slower. And a lot of times you have that kind of resentment toward the other person, or maybe they have it toward you if you're not growing as fast.
Yeah.
And so what were some of the other things that you looked at rather than bringing in a third partner? Right. And I'm glad it's working out, because a lot of times it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
What were some of the other things you guys thought about doing in order to kind of get over that plateau?
Well, we thought about doing them and then we did it. And that was what I opened the show with, was our focus on healthcare, self-care, and well-being. And the other thing was, we spent a lot of time from like 2017 to 2022-ish only working predominantly with 0 to 1 startups. And that was working great at the time because we had ingrained ourselves in the venture capital community, the entrepreneurial community in Los Angeles, and people were raising millions of dollars to start anything. And we were there to help them go through that process. And it was gangbusters for a while. And then 2022, the economy changed, and, young people weren't able, or experienced founders weren't able to raise $1 million to start a, adaptogenic lip gloss anymore, or whatever it was. Right. And so, so we decided, let's go up market. And in doing that, we brought in more insight work, and we closed the gap from strategy to creative. And we also got closer to the points of conversion instead of just these kind of like esoteric, lofty brand worlds that we were creating. And so all those decisions kind of compounded into us not just being a good design shop that people who were considering working with us just would choose us basically because they liked our portfolio, or Chapin and I. And instead it became a decision to work with people that were focused in the world of health and wellness, understood the consumer, understood the mechanics of how these businesses operate, the nuance. And, now it's not a comparison game. It's a choice to work with Herman Scheer. And so that, in addition to bringing on Allison, we're both the kind of catalyst for our growth trajectory that we're on now.
That's good. Yeah. When we started specializing, we were able to really kind of catapult. And then it was really, they were kind of comparing us to everyone else. The other thing I want to mention too, and I'm curious on your thoughts here, because I know you said your partner came from a bigger firm.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought when we were smaller, I needed to bring on people that had bigger or experience with bigger companies, like enterprise level companies.
Yeah.
And what I found when I brought those people on, they weren't resourceful. And it reminded me of the movie Office Space, right? Where it's kind of like, hey, I'm used to having a team of 10 to help me with my job. Like they had a whole team, versus like how we operated as an agency is like there was many people wore many hats, and like no one would ever say, well, that's not my job. And this was just like a couple different hires. how did you guys make sure that was not going to happen? Like, what was some of the criteria that you looked at with your partner, the third partner that you brought in?
Yeah. She likes to say that she was having a bit of a midlife crisis where she picked her head up one day at this mega agency that she was head of strategy and insights for and wasn't doing any work. She was managing people and putting out personnel fires and traveling around, and just she didn't like it anymore because she wasn't rolling up her sleeves, getting close to the work. And when we heard that, it was a signal that, oh, okay, she's resourceful and wants to do shit and bring value. And that, this was all facilitated by our advisor, who is the person who built that super agency that she was leaving. So he knew what we needed. He was really the one who match made the whole thing.
Gotcha. I like that. Yeah, I always caution people when they come from really big companies, like really dive into it, because going from a big company to a small company, it's, especially if they expect like, hey, I'm going to have unlimited budgets and resources.
Right.
It could be a complete train wreck, because
Totally.
my mentality when I was so young, I was just like, I'm going to hire this person. I'm going to become that big conglomerate. Like, I looked up to these big agencies, which was a mistake. I was like, we need to become them. We need to do it exactly that way. But I didn't look at how they got there, because they probably got there like scrappy and resourceful, kind of like what we're doing, and then built into a bigger organization.
Right.
So.
Totally. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, I think when we were 22, we brought on that first advisor, and he was at the time 70, and he had started and sold a number of management consulting firms through the .com era and all that. And he was just he was a family friend of a friend and brilliant guy. And he came in, and it worked out for as long as it did, because he wasn't an actual hire. He was just an advisor. But it's funny because he was like, I don't do staff work. So like when we would ask him to do something, he wouldn't actually do anything besides talk to us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really kind of how my business operates now. And I always tell everybody is like, look, I'm going to get people together in a mastermind, like a true mastermind, where you're going to talk to other agency owners.
Right.
And they're going to tell you what works for them, but you have to, and like, they're not going to go do it for you. They're going to tell you exactly what works for them. And your job is to figure out what parts do you like, which parts do you not like, and then adapt that to your business, right? Like that's what we should all be doing, right? Like getting around people that are going through the same things or going through things currently, and then really trying to figure it out together, and that's what I've been doing for years and years, and realized, if I could have had this back when I first started, I wouldn't have had a partner. Because that was the sense of like, hey, I need to have someone to talk to help me make these decisions, because these decisions affect a lot of people.
Right.
And that weighed on me for a number of different years, being like, man, like there's a lot of people depending on me to make the right decision so this boat navigates through all these icebergs that we have.
Yeah, man.
What's your point, since you're a creative? What's your point on AI, or what's your viewpoint of what AI is doing to your agency right now?
Yeah. AI is a phenomenal tool. It is not a replacement. So what it has done, it has allowed people to get ideas out more efficiently. But when you rely on AI to get the idea, it's garbage usually, or it's just the average of the average, right? And it's really, if you scroll on Instagram for long enough or TikTok, you see these awesome reels and stories of people like one-shotting one prompt into something, and it's all bullshit. It's just marketing. Like when you actually start playing with the generative tools, it's a lot of work to get something that you would be truly proud of. It's exciting because it's cutting out so much work. It's like going from doing long division by hand to now having a TI 83 plus or whatever.
Yeah.
And
I'm impressed you know what that is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pushing 40. We had those. Yeah. Anyways, so our agency philosophy on AI is you got to put 10% great thinking, great prompt, great work into it. Let it do 80% of the lifting, and then you got to refine on the 10% out, and that, and revise there. So that's my perspective on it.
Have you started seeing, we were talking about this in the mastermind yesterday, where one of the members came to the group and was like, hey, I'm doing this branding for this one company and then a website and a lot of other strategy work. They signed the deal, and one person in their company designed a logo in AI and said, hey, we're good with this. Just go on to the next. Have you seen any of that from your clients yet?
No, thank God. But we are seeing a lot of people, like we always send out an onboarding form so that we can understand as much logistical things up front as possible. And some people just let their ChatGPT fill it out for them, don't read it, send it to us, and think it's good. And it's awful. So we now have in our contracts that they can't do that.
No. What I tell everybody is AI is, just like you said, amazing. And we all need to create, think about what enables AI to make your company better is the context, the knowledge, the frameworks, the examples, the testimonials, case stories, all this kind of stuff. So I've been showing a lot of our members how to build their own AI operating system, that file structure with all that content that they can plug it up to, Claude can hook up to it, Codex, Gemini, Swank AI, whatever, whatever new AI comes out, whatever it is, hook up anything to it, and it immediately knows and it trains itself to be able to remove a lot of, it's basically kind of downloading your agency brain or your brain to make your team better, rather than just trying to figure out what the best prompt is. It's just like, this is the default folder. Like everyone should be doing this. Like, here's a default folder of the frameworks and all this kind of stuff. And then have it help you figure how to navigate and route all this different things. We start doing this, and the stuff that we've been able to produce as a company, as a team, has gone up. Like,
that's awesome.
Gangbusters. It's crazy.
Yeah. There's so much. It helps you be way more efficient. But I think for some of the more junior folks, it can be detrimental because you start relying on it, or they have expectations that it's going to do something, or they'll ship you over something without reviewing it first. And it can just get sloppy fast and actually eat way more time than.
You have to have expertise in what you have it do for you.
Right.
Like, for example, I'll call out myself for really bad use case. Bookkeeper going through our books, really don't, it's easy books to do. I was like, I'm going to have cowork go do it. First month, perfect. Balanced the books. It was great. Second month, totally screwed it up. But I don't have an accounting background. I don't have a bookkeeping background. So I don't know what I don't have any expertise to test that out. So I enabled it to go into QuickBooks and totally screw it up. Right. And it's kind of the same thing. Like, you have to have a design background. Like when I was designing some websites a couple of weeks ago using AI, like that's my background. I'm a creative. I've been building websites for 30 years.
Right.
And so I know how to direct it.
Right.
But if I didn't, I'd have a front page looking website. Like, if you remember front page, it was just junk.
Right. Yeah. I think it has made, to some degree, it has made decent and good design a commodity, but anything that's actually breakthrough, interesting, and great, you still need people.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the beauty about it. Like, I think about a year ago when I was watching all those videos that you saw, I replaced my agency with this prompt. I was like, man, I was like, yeah, agencies are screwed. And then I started digging into it more, and I'm like, nah, man, there's always going to be a director. There's always
Right.
going to be that middleman. And that's really what agencies are, is that middleman
Right.
between the brand and what they want and their customer.
Right.
And is our job roles going to shift? Yeah. Like in 99, like there was no web designers or web developers until around the 90s, the late 90s, right? Because before then there were print designers.
Right. Right.
Which I loved because it was very easy. It was like designed for one thing rather than all these different browsers that we had.
Totally.
Which was nice. Like you literally finish the design. You don't have to do coding or anything. It was awesome. I loved it. Easiest work ever.
Yeah. But print design 50 years ago, where you got to actually like typeset and all that was probably a nightmare.
Yes.
But you were in the sweet spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was there when Photoshop came out, or my first one was Corel Draw. I started using, and Dreamweaver, and
oh yeah,
I was designing in tables before CSS, which
Jeez.
when CSS came out and I saw code from one of my designers at first with CSS, I go, what the hell is this shit?
Yeah.
Like, I still don't understand CSS.
No, I tried, and it's not for me.
Yeah, I don't need to anymore. I was like, fuck it. But awesome. Well, John, thanks so much for coming on the show, and for everyone listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you kind of feel alone and isolated and you want to be around other cool people, make sure you check out the Agency Mastery. Go to agencymastery.io and fill out the application, and we'll chat if we think you're right for the community. And until next time, have a swank day.